So we have a new update on the Jaire Alexander situation. In the past 15 minutes, it came out here from Rob Demovsky, who says on X, according to a source, the Packers and Jaire Alexander continue to talk about a possible resolution, which could include a reconciliation to where Alexander plays for the Packers in 2025. After all options are still on the table: release, trade, or return. So that's very different from what was reported on Saturday night from Tom Silverstein, which things can clearly change at any moment. But here is what was shared on Saturday night that I put out in a video yesterday. On PackersNews.com, Tom Silverstein said, a source familiar with the dealings between the Packers and Alexander said the Packers still were in the market to trade him and were waiting to see if a team might have interest after the draft. There is no plan for the Packers to bring Alexander back. After deciding in February they were moving on and then shopping him to teams. And so I did say yesterday that I was pretty convinced that with the Packers not drafting a corner in the first few rounds, that it made more sense for the Packers to keep Alexander at this point. I still thought that they were going to end up moving on just from everything that had been reported. But now looking at this information, we do see that there is a possible resolution. This isn't something that Gutekunst ever publicly, said that things couldn't get resolved. He just had continuously said, we'll sort of see what happens here. And it felt to me like the Packers and him were going to move on. And I still feel like if the Packers drafted a corner round 1 or 2, I would be pretty convinced that Jaire wouldn't be back. But now with him, or with the Packers not drafting a receiver early on, I do think it just makes more sense to keep him around. And so it's not shocking to see that they're now talking about a potential resolution. And here's where it's interesting, because on the one hand, you have Jaire still under contract in Green Bay. If a team were to trade for him, they'd have to take on his $17.5 million salary. And there was a short excerpt in the same Tom Silverstein article that said at least one team was willing to trade for Alexander, a source said, but Alexander was unwilling to restructure his contract or take a pay cut so he wouldn't be a burden on his new team's cap. Unless he was willing to renegotiate, the other team was unwilling to trade for him. So it sounds like a team probably won't trade for Jaire unless he's willing to renegotiate his deal. The question is, why would Jaire renegotiate his deal to take less money elsewhere when he could just sit around, and if the Packers really want to move on, they can release him. He can then go sign wherever he wants, whatever team wants him. But then in that situation, it's possible that he doesn't make as much money as he's making now with the Packers at $17.5 million. So now looking at this overall situation, the Packers would likely want to bring back Jaire if he were to take some kind of pay cut, I would assume. I don't think they want to have him at the current number he's at. And it seems that they didn't think previously that Jaire would take a pay cut. And now it's possible that because Jaire recognizes that these teams who at least the one team who was trying to trade for him wanted him to restructure his deal to take or potentially take some kind of pay cut so he could come into the new team through the trade, because teams aren't out there fully willing just to trade for him without doing some kind of restructure. Maybe Jaire recognizes that the kind of money he's getting with the Packers now isn't something he would get if he were released, potentially. And then maybe because of that, this will allow the Packers to, restructure his deal in some kind of way to where he takes some kind of pay cut that will be a better situation for both the Packers and Jaire when you look at the rest of his options out there, among the rest of the NFL. And so at this point, as Rob Demovsky said, there's still a chance that anything could happen. There's a chance a trade happens. There's a chance he's released, and there's a chance he ends up, signing some kind of resolution. And so at this point, as I said yesterday, I think with the Packers waiting till round 7 to draft a corner, and you're only saving $6 million in the cap if he's cut before or traded before June 1st. You're saving $16 million on the cap, which is a lot for 2025. If you release or cut him after June 1st, but then you have the $10 million dead cap hit in 2026. So if you're just saving $6 million on the 2025 cap, I think it's more valuable to keep Jaire around, even though he may not be healthy. And if the Packers can also get Jaire to take some kind of pay cut, then I think that's sort of a situation that could end up being best for all sides. And I do wonder if the Packers have just been waiting around so that maybe Jaire recognizes that these teams out here trying to trade for him don't want to bring on his contract. And so maybe this is Jaire recognizing that if he may have to take a pay cut, and that may actually be a better situation than him even being released by the Packers, because how much are other teams willing to pay him? If the Packers are able to get him to bring his contract down a little bit, it helps them as well. So we'll keep an eye on this one, sort of see where this goes. If you guys want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe. You can also follow me on X at LukeBeller3, and I'll see you guys next time.